Hi, everybody, and welcome to a special episode of Hear Me Out Pitch. And already you all are noticing that it is just me, and I'm going to make two notes right here at the very beginning. First off, spoilers for the movie Sinners. Second note that this is my third time recording this because for some reason audio has just been crap, and I know that probably the last episode I did with Tim, audio wasn't as good as I would want, so I apologize for that. This is an attempt to try to get better because we've been doing this for nearly 2 years, and I have definitely gotten better at quality, so I don't know what happened with our system, and I just trying to make better attention for that. So, sorry in advance. So, yeah, this is a special episode, and at this point, it is Sunday afternoon. I am finally trying to get this out there, and I was doing this for the fact that Tim was gone in Hawaii this past week, and watched the movie, wanted to record it. Tim doesn't watch R-rated movies, so I thought it would be a nice thing to do, and things kept getting away from me, and here we are now, Sunday, with Tim down, home. So it's silly at this point, but I'm committed. I'm ready for this. So you can laugh at me in the comments. Please flame me. I deserve it. It's fine. So hopefully not that many tangents. And with the 30-minute recording I already did, I didn't do that many. So it should be all well and dandy. It's going to be a great time. I'm just trying not to get nervous. I have the microphone a little bit closer this time because can't stand that. I can't stand poor audio. I can't, because I know you guys can. If I am listening to a podcast and it sounds funky, it is so hard to listen to. So I hope this sounds better. I just want to make sure. All right. I like it. Whatever. Also, excuse me for, y'all being with me in my room today. So now y'all can see where I sleep. Nothing much to brag about. But oh man, Tim, I struggle doing this and I miss doing this with you. So this is not a permanent thing. So, and we'll see what happens in a couple months when a new addition comes to Tim's family. So, with that being said, let's get right into Sinners and why did I personally want to watch this movie and why it was so important for me, Willem Barnes. I don't think it's, of course, nope. I'm just going to talk about why I, Willem Barnes, love this movie and why it was important for me to watch. First off, it was a breath of fresh air to watch something that wasn't a remake, wasn't a live action adaptation, and wasn't some sequel. It felt so good to just watch something going, okay, this is, and it wasn't just some generic John Wick ripoff. Like, it just was something that just screamed Freshalicious, and I'm not editing that out. We're gonna take the cringe. We're gonna roll with it. It's gonna be fine. And even though it was a fresh concept, like it was a fresh movie, it was a simple concept. And we've seen movies that take place in the Jim Crow area. We have seen movies that take place with black leads. We have seen movies that have vampires in it. But to have Jim Crow era vampires, that's a whole different story entirely. What happens when you are living in the Jim Crow days as someone of darker skin, and you not only have to face oppression in one way, but then you have this monster in the other. It just simple, sweet, and, well, not sweet, but simple and powerful. It was a powerful story regardless. And whoever you are, it is worth the watch, in my opinion. We'll talk more. And there are a few things I have gripes about, but that's more near the end. So, the story. Why did I love this story so much, and why I think that, just Ryan Coogler should do a masterclass of storytelling because of his world building. Of course, this world that he built, we all know this. We all can read history books about it. We literally can talk to people who have ancestors who lived during this time and lived in similar situation as our main cast. It's it's relatable. It's something that happened in a way, excluding the vampires. Who knows? But it felt amazing to see that, just be in the 1930s, post World War One, right before World War Two, and to just just feel it. It's crazy that this is 90 years ago. Is absolutely insane to me, but it felt so close. I hope that makes sense. But that's how I felt about it. But speaking of Jim Crow era, just vampires in the Jim Crow era. That concept might sound silly, and I'm pretty sure there's a few comedians out there who probably made jokes about it back then and how it was like, nope, black people would never ever like deal with Jim Crow era vampires. Well, what happens when you're actually confronted? Just the concept was easy to follow, and it wasn't the main thing. It wasn't like the main confrontation of this movie, and I'll get more of why I say that later. And speaking of, our main cast, Sammy, our main character, Sammy, a man whose voice I could not believe this actor was 20 at the time. I believe he's in his early 20s now, but when they started filming this, I think just 20. Just oh, beautiful, beautiful musician, and I'm pretty sure that was his voice singing. I couldn't get enough of Sammy. I was at the edge of my seat for his story the whole time. To me, Sammy is the main character. We start the movie with Sammy, we finish the movie with Sammy. It is just chef's kiss. Love it. Oh, and then Remick, our main villain, Irish vampire, someone with, Celtic heritage in him. It was really cool to kind of have these thoughts of what would happen if you were an old vampire so old from the Celtic lands that you remembered what happened to your people, and how it would be ironic for you to push other people under your control and be the very thing that you hated when you were once human. Like, I just love that concept, love the irony of Remick's character, and love seeing him go from Remick, the beautiful Irish man with the facade, to the end of the movie before the sun takes him as this monster. His hands have elongated, his teeth, his maw is showing, just everything. He's flying, just loved it. Oh, couldn't get enough of Remick, and I'm glad that he wasn't like a big part of the story, as in like he didn't get a lot of screen time, but his presence was felt through all the people he corrupted, and how whenever he interacted with any of our cast, you just felt terrified for them. And he had such a good silver tongue. Just, great villain. Now, probably the two main people who everyone thinks about when they hear the movie Sinners is, ironically, it's only one person playing two, Smoke and Stack. Michael B. Jordan, I have some beef with you because, oh my gosh, every time the screen showed you on there, my sister was going, that's a fine man. And she's right. She's right. He's a fine man, handsome man, and for him to play these two contradicting and not contradicting, two just very different personality of brothers, I couldn't believe it. And it breaks my heart to hear the rumors that if Chadwick Boseman was alive, he would have played one of them. I'm voting for Smoke, in my opinion, because to me, Michael B. Jordan was just made for Stack. Stack just, loved it. You're probably going to hear me say this so much, guys. I love it. I can't get enough of it. Just bear with me. I don't try. I usually bounce off with someone. I don't do these by myself. Probably should have written a better script. And this isn't a review. This isn't a review. This is just why I feel like this movie was important for going into better storytelling in the future, that we still have good storytelling, that good movies are still being made. It was such wonderful, and that's why I wanted to talk about it. Going on with that, with Smoke and Stack, how well the story followed those two brothers, and how each of them had their own story, had their own problems, and they just felt like their own different men. And there were times when I first started the movie, when I was when There was a point where they both kind of had their coats off. They had removed their hats that were a different color. There was a few points where I was like, which one was talking? But by the second time through I watched this movie, I could tell the whole movie. Never, ever second guessed it ever. Just knew who each was. And that sounded wrong. Whatever. And loved them. Their endings, though, we'll talk more about it. Now, with our three lovely men, we have all three of their, I would say, love interest, and two of them, the Perline and Mary, who were both married, but just grew to Perline for Sammy and Mary for Stack. I saw a comment saying if people had just been true to their spouses, they would have been just fine, and the movie probably would have ended up being okay. I don't believe that, but it did make me laugh that it's like, it's called Sinners for a reason. Just kidding. Just made me laugh. But Mary, Perline, and Annie. Sorry, I'm going to call her Miss Annie because that's how everyone else called her. I just absolutely loved these three women. I loved how well they balanced out their counterparts, love interests, however you guys want to call them. Anytime they interacted with, and I'll go more into just how every character, whether it was our main three men, our main three women, or our villain, like how everyone interacted, they were all so well written and so fleshed out that their interactions just felt so natural and nice, and it was never corny, cheesy, or forced. Loved them, loved all of them, and just the stories of each of these characters, especially Annie. I think Annie was my favorite character for this whole movie. The way she uses her knowledge to help combat the vampires, for her to stand up to Smoke of all people, who Smoke was he was a soldier, as he said. He was ready to lay waste to people if they were in his way. He did not care and was ready to get things done. There's only one person he hesitated for, and we'll go with that later on. But Annie was the perfect woman for him because she did not care. And I think she saved, well, movie didn't end happy. And that was okay because I don't think there was going to be a happy ending no matter what, because that's the tragedy of this movie. Now, the rest of our supporting characters, Delta Slim, Cornbread, Bo, and Grace Chow. I could not, I'm going to say it again, I could not get enough of them. I know. Gotta stop repeating myself. I know it's bad. This is why we don't have a lot of followers. I don't care. But again, so fleshed out, so supporting, and going to talk more about the scenes that I loved with each of these characters later on. But the last thing about the story that I want to talk about is, to me, like the main thought or story or moral of the story, whatever, what have you, is choices and consequences. I find it ironic that the movie is called Sinners, and as you know, as someone who is Christian and believes that we all are sinners, I'm not here to go about in that today. But to be called Sinners and how sinning is a choice, and this movie was all about choices and the consequences of those choices, I just felt like that was the vibe of the whole movie. And I'll explain that more as I go into scenes that I loved, but just keep that in mind. Speaking of which, scenes that I loved. The very beginning with Sammy. Sammy coming in on that car, walking into his father's congregation, having flashes of the night before, holding on dear life the remains of that guitar. The questions that was making me, the audience, start to have, and for it to be revealed that this all takes place in one night, I was so excited because I love a good movie that just takes place in one night. I love those movies. I love how fast they are. And the reason why that when I get to the kind of gripes and questions I have, they really do get made up because this all takes place in one night. It's just coincidence. All the choices that humans make will affect other humans, and that's kind of what happened in the end of this movie. So I can't really fault it. Now, the twins' introduction. Smoke and Stack, which I could go off about the camera work, and I'll quickly go into aspect ratios because a few of the scenes that I loved here were affected by aspect ratios. And what we mean by that is, the black bars on the top and bottom, they, depending on what aspect ratio you watch, you have black bars on the top and the bottom of your screen. And how I watched it, the screen would just get wider and wider, and you would watch the whole scene play out. And when those scenes grew, it just made the scenes more powerful and more terrifying. And I love that. So with that though, the twins' introduction is another one of those scenes where it was painstakingly, a lot of blood, sweat, and tears to get that scene just right of Stack passing Smoke a cigarette, because it wasn't a body double. So wrap your head around that. And yeah, it's just crazy. And that's not why I love that scene. The scene of of introducing these two brothers, to have them buy the sawmill from, and I meant to look up the old white guy who they bought the sawmill from, but I really don't care because he ended up being part of the clan, and I do not care. And again, you gotta chalk it up to just Michael B. Jordan just being a boss and just owning it. Ugh. Now, with that, Sammy singing to Stack for the first time. Something about that scene. Rewatching it yesterday, I was like, this is my favorite. Watching Stack, his eyes light up, listening to his younger cousin sing, playing on the guitar that they gave them, which at the end of the movie turned out to be their father's. And learning that it was their father's at the end of the first time through and watching it the second time, I was like, this is something special to Stack. Something special for both of them, and Smoke included. Just this wonderful, wonderful, precious moment. I loved it, and I just knew that later scenes with Sammy singing were gonna be great, and I just, loved it. Now, any door interaction. And what I mean by any door interaction is anytime there was interaction at a door, you were on your edge. You were on the edge of your seat. Especially after we were introduced with Remick, because even then the Choctaw natives had gone to the first two victims and asked, did a strange man come to your home? After that point, anytime there was a scene with a doorway, you were always questioning. Like any scene with Cornbread just letting someone in casually, or any scene with one of them actually being turned and them being confronted with them being a vampire. I loved it. But the final scene before the final showdown of Remick being with Bo, being with Stack, being with Mary, and trying to tempt the rest of the cast out, it just hit. It hurt, and it showed Remick's true colors. It showed how he manipulated people, and it was just ironic of, again, what Remick had seen in his past and now what he was doing. Just loved it. And now, my absolute two favorite scenes were, the one that everyone talks about, the one based off of the painting, which I will try to get up here so you all can see it. But the scene of Sammy performing for the whole, oh my gosh, I can't think of the word for... Whatever, when he's performing for everyone for the first time in the juke joint. Jeez. Tim, this is why you're supposed to be here. It's fine. It's fine. This is why it's not going to go, and it's going to go fresh like this, guys. You guys are just going to get it like this. Maybe a few things will come up on screen. I don't care. Oh my gosh, I hate this so much. I hate it. And Sammy playing for the juke joint. And watching all the past, present, and future of, can I just say African culture? And, well, Black American culture, like all over. Just that scene to me was so amazing. Again, it had the aspect ratio growing. It had the beautiful music, and it had all the representation. I loved it. Even the Chows dancing and seeing their culture dancing around them too. Just loved that scene. It showed the magic of what Sammy was doing. As it said in the beginning of the movie, some people are blessed with this ability to bring people together with music. And that's what drew Remick to the juke joint. And I loved it. I love that scene. I'm pretty sure most people love that scene. And that scene will probably be talked about for quite a bit. And with that, the contradiction is Remic's scene with all the people that he had turned. After Stack had been killed by Mary, Stack and Mary had escaped. They throw a body outside and they hear singing, and it's Remick singing the Rocky Road to Dublin, and everyone's joining in. And it's fabulous rendition of that song. Love that song so much. And to have Remick be in the middle alone and not really dancing with anyone, and everyone's just dancing around him, such a big contradiction to the lively scene of everyone dancing and enjoying. And one is an invitation and one is control. And I love that at the end of the Rocky Road to Dublin, everyone crowds Remick. They're all cheering, and he's looking around. And to me, it seems that he is looking around and he's not seeing the gifts that Sammy was. You don't see anyone from the Celtic lands of Ireland dancing around him. You don't see anyone else. You just see people that he controlled. And I just love those two scenes almost back to back in the movie. They were just fabulous. Now, with that comes some gripes and questions of mine, and just gripes from other people I've heard, and just want to address it, and then I'll just let you all go. And we all can forget about this time of me ever doing this alone. And next time, if I ever do it, or if Tim ever does it, we'll take notes and know how to do this better. Help me. Tim, I need you. So, some of my questions and gripes. Remick at the very beginning. I was just very confused of how on earth was he roaming the desert during the day and get to that house of that couple right when the sun was setting. That's my only question. My only gripe. Was he flying the whole time? Was he like running in between shadows? That's the only thought of mine. That's the only thing I was like, it was weird. Yeah, that's really about it. Other than that, I love the interaction between the Choctaw and Choctaw. I am sorry if I'm butchering it. I hope I've tried so hard to get all the names right, and I feel like I've done a fabulous job. So don't hurt me too bad. Now, one of the more controversial takes of people I've heard is Grace. Grace inviting the vampires in for the final showdown. Many people were mad at her. It wasn't her place, and blah, 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 blah. To me, though, watching this from the outside and watching it again, Grace kept saying, they're going to go after the rest of the town. They're going to go after our families. They've threatened my daughter. They've already took my husband. And she was on business. The second they came through, she threw a Molotov and immediately set herself on fire and pinned her husband to the ground, staked him through the heart, and ended it. I loved that for Grace, and I thought she did an ultimate sacrifice. So when some people kind of get mad at her and blame her for it, I can't help to try to defend her. I will always try to defend Grace. And speaking of which, the fight. How on earth do 5 to 7 people survive 30 plus vampires? That's my only thing, because these are stronger, faster from what we've seen. They were surviving gunshots, and yet Sammy was able to get out, not unscathed and not without some hardship, but it just seemed a little like, woo, could have. That's one of my only gripes. Again, this was happening one night. Maybe Remick, and I think with their hive mind, Remick was more focused on Sammy, and everyone else was trying to defend Sammy. It just kind of bugged me that after Miss Annie was turned by Stack, and Smoke getting some time to let her go and stake her through the heart before she turned, kind of was just shocking that all the vampires kind of watched. But it did allow for a scene that, if I think about it too much, it just hurts my heart. Still, even though I have these gripes and the ending was not my favorite, I still love this movie. I will say that. Full disclaimer. Now with Remick's death, it was kind of shocking that no other vampires got away. They all just kind of watched while Remick was, mimicking baptism, and he was dunking Sammy and mocking him and even saying the Lord's Prayer with him. First off, love that. That was intense. Like, wow. Oh. But with Remick burning from the sun and after getting staked through the heart by Stack, I was just a little shocked. Like, okay, did I say Stack? Sorry, Smoke. Um, that all the other vampires just burned up and died. But again, this happened in one evening. They had to go, and when Remick suffered, they suffered. So maybe his pain was so great they couldn't really move until he was gone, and it was hard for them to go. So I can forgive it, and also we have to have them gone so that the town would be safe. Now with that, Stack and Mary, I was just really shocked that they got away and they got to kind of grow up and leave it alone. And when they visit old Sammy, it was kind of like, I don't know. I wasn't all satisfied with that, my opinion. If anything, I was kind of rooting for Stack and Mary to help Smoke take care of the clan at the end of the movie. I was really hoping they would open the bay door, and when they walk into a very dark barn, they get close and they find Smoke kind of huddled there with Mary, and a little bit of sun's kind of scorching them, and then they just lay waste, and then Stack comes in and just starts helping. That's what I was hoping for, but that's not how it went down. Smoke got his ending. He took care of the clan. He wiped them all out, and I knew that was a killing floor. The second they asked if they cleaned the floor and what used to be on it, I was so mad. And with that, I think that's why this movie wasn't going to end happy no matter what, because it was either going to be vampires or the clan. Maybe if the vampires never come, they could have defended themselves, but even then, it just got messy no matter what. So I guess this is the best ending all around. But I will say, having Smoke reunited with Annie and their daughter and their baby, I don't know if it was a boy or girl, but I really appreciated that. And I feel like Smoke deserved that ending, and I loved it. And with that, I think that's really all I have about this. Even though I have a few gripes about the end, don't take it away that I didn't like this movie. I loved it, and I will probably be buying it on Blu-ray, and that's what I look forward to for July. I think a movie that talks about consequences and actions and just the pain of losing those that we love. It was just well done. So, Mr. Coogler, thank you so much for this movie. I really enjoyed it. I recommend it for everyone out there, and it just brings me hope that we're going to still have good movies, and it inspires me to want to write more. So, with that, I'm going to let you guys go with Tim's words, because it would feel wrong to do it without it. So, love each other, be kind, and be careful about your choices, because there's always consequences. But don't forget to fight for those who you love. And with that, we'll see you later, pitches. Bye.